in the class, let's know the thought for the day today. And the thought for the day today is, it's not about ideas, it's about making ideas happen. Now what does this thought mean? It means you may have a lot of thoughts about things. I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I know this, and so on. So having lot many thoughts, lot many ideas in your brain is not important. What is important is how you go about these ideas, how you plan to make these thoughts, make these ideas work. How do you bring it into action? So that is more important. Even if you have just one single idea in your mind, but you are able to execute it, but you are able to carry it wonderfully, perfectly, that one idea is more important than those hundreds and thousands of ideas which are left without touching, without doing anything about it, without bringing them into action. So yes, that is what I want you all to follow. I want you all to have an idea and be behind it till that idea is materialized. So with this note, let's start today's chapter. Today we are going to start with the second chapter of our snapshot book, The Address, written by Marga Minko. Marga Minko is a writer from Holland, Germany. Now this story is an autobiographical account of the author. The story is based on the time when Hitler was ruling. And what did Hitler do? Hitler had ordered his Nazi soldiers to send all the Jewish people to concentration camp. Now what is concentration camp? Concentration camp is a place where people are tortured and troubled. So Hitler was totally against the Jews. Right? And he had troubled, he had tortured Jews a lot. So the story is based during that time. So let's see the story. This short story is a poignant account of a daughter who goes in search of her mother's belongings after the war in Holland. When she finds them, the objects evoke memories of her earlier life. However, she decides to leave them all behind and resolves to move. So the story is a poignant account. It's a very touching, it's a very moving incident of a girl who goes to some place. And this some place is the address that the writer is talking about, right? And then she goes to that place. She has some specific motive of visiting that place, but then things that happen over there, she decides, she resolves not to go back to that place again. She wants to forget that address. So let's see in the lesson what really happens. So here we go. Do you still know me? I asked. The woman looked at me searchingly. She had opened the door a chink. I came closer and stood on the step. So now the girl had reached to the place, and maybe she rang the bell or knocked the door, and the owner from the other side opened the door, not completely but just a chink. Chink is a narrow gap, right? From where you can only peep out or peep in. And the lady who has gone to visit that place, she is just standing on the footstep. But the lady on the other side, that is inside the house, doesn't open the door for her. No, I don't know you. I am Mrs. S's daughter. So when she is asking, does this lady know her? She replies in a negation. She replies negatively saying no. So what does this girl do? She introduces herself. She says that I am Mrs. S's daughter. She held her hand on the door as though she wanted to prevent it opening any further. Her face gave absolutely no sign of recognition. She kept staring at me in silence. So even after introducing, the lady does not open the door. She behaves as if she is preventing the person outside the door to peep into or come into the house. And she doesn't show any sign of recognition. Perhaps I was mistaken. I thought, perhaps it isn't her. I had seen her only once, fleetingly, and that was years ago. So when the lady refuses to recognize, so she is giving a second thought. She is thinking, maybe she has come to a wrong place, to a wrong address. And then even the other person also doesn't really remember the lady so nicely, because she says that she had only seen her once for a very short time, fleetingly for a very short time. So even she is not able to recognize her or to remember her properly. It was most probable that I had rung the wrong bell. The woman let go of the door and stepped to the side. She was wearing my mother's green knitted cardigan. The wooden buttons were rather pale from washing. She saw that I was looking at the cardigan and half hid herself again behind the door. But I knew now that I was right. So now the author is confused, thinking that she's come to a wrong place, and now as she's about to move from that place, the lady inside the house, she comes a bit more into visibility. And as the girl is about to take a turn, she takes a look at the cardigan that the lady is wearing, the green cardigan. And then she recognizes it. She knows, she remembers that it is her mother's cardigan, and which makes her sure that yes, she is in the right place. She has come to a right address. Well, you knew my mother, I asked. So when the lady took a note that she is looking at the sweater, so what does she do? She tries to again hide herself behind the door. And while she is doing this, the girl asked, you knew my mother, right? Have you come back? Said the woman. I thought that no one had come back, only me. So now the lady shows the sign of recognition and she is asking, oh, you are back? I thought that everybody had died, only I was able to survive and only I was safe during the war. But see, in spite of all these things, she is not showing that courtesy of opening the door and letting that person inside her house. Right? This only shows a self-centered attitude, and an attitude which is like you don't want to share something with that person, with the girl. A door opened and closed in the passage behind her. A musty smell emerged. So inside the house, maybe there was some door which was banging, opening and closing, opening and closing. And because of that, what was happening? A very foul smell, an unpleasant smell, wrapped in dampness, you can say, which is not fresh. Due to lack of fresh air, maybe the house is closed for the maximum time. So there is no fresh air, there is no proper ventilation, and because of that this house is smelling horrible. I regret, I cannot do anything for you. Now she says, I am very sorry. I cannot help you out in any ways. I have come here specially on the train. I wanted to talk to you for a moment. So the writer says, I have come here for some special purpose, for some important work, and I want to talk to you. So what does the lady reply in the house? It is not convenient for me now, said the woman. I can't see you another time. So now imagine when you come to know that somebody has come to meet you traveling in a train. That means the person had been traveling for a longer distance. And what do you reply? That I have no time to meet you today. Maybe some other time you can come. So that is so very rude. Such inhuman behavior. She nodded and cautiously closed the door as though no one inside the house should be disturbed. So she said maybe next time, and the girl also says yes, she nods and she is about to go, and very carefully the lady inside the house closes the door. Right? Her name is Mrs. Darling. She closes the door as if she doesn't want that people who are inside the house should be disturbed by the sound that would be made while closing the door. I stood where I was on the step. The curtain in front of the bay window moved. Someone stared at me and would then have asked what I wanted. Oh, nothing, the woman would have said. It was nothing. So now she says, I was still standing on that same step. And the lady closed the door. I could see the curtain inside the house flying, and maybe from inside the house someone is looking at me. And when the lady goes back inside, she is asked, who was it? What did that person want? So she says nothing. That means she is simply avoiding. She doesn't want to talk, or she doesn't want anybody in the house to know about this person. I looked at the nameplate again. Darling, it said, in black letters on white enamel. And on the jack, a bit higher, the number 46. So she says, I again had a look at the nameplate. Right? And what was written on it? It was written Darling. And the number of the house was 46. As I walked slowly back to the station, I thought about my mother, who had given me the address years ago. It had been in the first half of the war. So now as she is moving away from the house towards the station, she is recalling the things. Right? She is recalling the past, and she remembers that how her mother had given her this address during the time of the war. I was home for a few days, and it struck me immediately that something or the other about the rooms had changed. I missed various things. So this person, the girl, was working outside in some other city. She used to stay away from her house. So in between, whenever she used to come to the house, so recently what had happened, she says that she had started noticing few things, that in the house there were things which were missing. Right? The decorum, the placement of the things, the way the house was set up, it was changing. And what was changing? Things were missing. They were not in those proper places where they were kept. My mother was surprised. I should have noticed so quickly. So maybe she had asked her mother that I feel that something is missing here, something here. She might have named them. And then she says that my mother was surprised that I knew about so many things in the house, and I remembered and I could notice that these things were missing in the house. Then she told me about Mrs. Darling. I had never heard of her, but apparently she was an old acquaintance of my mother, whom she hadn't seen for years. So she says, it was this time when mother told me about Mrs. Darling. Before this, I had never heard about her, but my mother says that she had known her for a longer time. But I had never seen her all these years. She had suddenly turned up and renewed their contact. Since then, she had come regularly. So she says, I never saw her, I never heard about her, but all of a sudden from somewhere, she had come and she had started building the contacts. And she would frequently come to our house. Every time she leaves here, she takes something home with her, said my mother. She took all the table silver in one go. So now mother says whenever she comes home, to our home, she is taking some or the other things from our home. And once she has taken all the silvers from the home, in one go, means at one time only, she has taken all the silvers. Now what do these silvers include? They include like spoons, forks, knives, all the cutleries. Right? So all these were small things. So she says that she had taken, mother says that she, that is Mrs. Darling, had taken them all at once. And then the antique plates that hung there, she had trouble lugging those large vases, and I am worried she got a crick in her back from the crockery. So whatever costly antique things, antiques are valuable, old valuable things, they're very costly. So mother says that she has been taking all of them, and whenever she would take such heavy things, it was very lugging. Lugging means it was difficult for her to carry those heavy big things. But she tried doing that. She tried to take away all those things, dragging them, pulling them, and in doing so, maybe she got a crick. She got a pain, a stiff pain, right? Which puts you in a situation where you feel like you cannot move. Okay, so this is what would happen to her. My mother shook her head pityingly, and when mother is telling all these things to the daughter, she is taking a lot of pity, right, on the lady. I would never have dared ask her. She suggested it to me herself. She even insisted. She wanted to save all my nice things. If we have to leave here, we shall lose everything, she says. Now she says, I never asked my mother, what is the reason? Why are we giving all our things to her to take? But she says it was my mother who wanted to let me know. Now this happens, like at home also. I don't know whether you people have ever experienced this. But yes, speaking about me, I have experienced this type of things. Like as you grow, right, then parents start sharing lot of things with you related to the house, right. Sometimes they feel that we should know everything, and they really tell us all those things, they share with us, even though we are not interested in knowing those things. That is just due to the age maybe. We are not interested in all those things, to know about the household things or anything of that sort. But they want us to know. And the same is the case with the mother here. She wants that the daughter should know everything. And she says, this is the war time and anything can happen. If all of a sudden we have to leave this place, then all our stuff, that is the household thing, which Mrs. Darling is carrying on with her, we may lose it here. So just in order to keep it safely, I am handing it over to Mrs. Darling. Have you agreed with her that she should keep everything? I asked. So the girl is only asking, have you agreed? Have you given your consent that Mrs. Darling can keep all our things with her? As if that's necessary, my mother cried. It would simply be an insult to talk like that? Now the mother says that how it would be like if I talk to her this way. Are you going to keep my things or are you not going to return my things? This would be an insult for her. Right? The mother feels that she is helping. Mrs. Darling is helping them out, and how rude, how insulting it would be to ask her whether she is going to give the things back or no. And think about the risk she is running each time she goes out of the door with a full suitcase or bag. And just think about Mrs. Darling. The mother says how much she is working hard, how much she is troubled every time she comes and every time she has to carry so much of luggage with her. So this is such a discomforting thing for her, and over top of it, what you want me to ask? You want me to ask her whether she is going to return the things or no? That is very rude and very bad. My mother seemed to notice that I was not entirely convinced. She looked at me reprovingly, and after that we spoke no more about it. So sometimes when we don't agree with our parents or our parents don't agree with us, we are able to make out. Right? Looking at their facial expressions and all, we are able to make out. Even our parents are able to make out when we don't agree with them. So then she gives a rebuking look towards her. She doesn't like it. The mother doesn't like it. And then she just, after that, the writer says that we never spoke about all these things. Meanwhile, I had arrived at the station without having paid much attention to things on the way. I was walking in a familiar places again for the first time since the war, but I did not want to go further than was necessary. I didn't want to upset myself with the sight of streets and houses full of memories from a precious time. So now she says she was walking, that is, she is returning back. She was walking on the familiar streets, on the roads which is known, where she has grown up. Right? But she says she doesn't want to pay much attention towards it because that would only upset her. And she doesn't want to get more upsetted after what has happened today. So we stop here today and continue with the lesson tomorrow. Until then, keep studying, keep learning, keep experiencing, and keep thinking about the ideas, but also try to materialize them.